Welcome to kathysright.com. I'm Kathy. Fake news is alive and well in all mainstream media, even on Fox, unfortunately. They're saying that they let about 12,000 Haitians, predominantly, into the interior of the United States. And they say that they've been processing them. Well, I've seen pictures and I know the truth, and I've talked to people who are there. And they're not processing everybody. No, not many of these people even have paperwork to prove who they actually are. So it is a fallacy that they are actually processing anybody. What is processing people? Do you look at their criminal record? Do you look at their credit record? Do you take COVID testing? Less than 2% of the people that have been coming over our borders, pouring over our borders for the last months and months and months, can even say that they have been vaccinated. So spare us the concern, Joe Biden. Spare us the concern for our health and well-being, Kamala Harris, when you are letting thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people come into our country willy-nilly with diseases and no vaccination. Meanwhile, in Canada, 75% of the Canadians have been vaccinated. Are our borders open at our northern border? Are our borders open at the New York airport? Are our borders open at any international way of getting into this country except for the southern border? No, they are not. It's all a big, horrible joke. They are playing on American citizens. It's not going to stop, It's not going to stop. It will not stop until Democrats start being affected by this. When their lives are changed, when something happens to someone in their family, like in my family, my brother was killed by an illegal alien. But when something happens, it'll make them think twice, but by then it will be too late. By then it will be too late. Some terrorist will come in through our southern border, unbeknownst to us, because there's way more gotaways than the ones who are being processed. But some terrorist is in our country probably right now planning our destruction. Planning it. Because we have been stupid. We have been stupid as a country. Well, one, we allowed this election to go on, even though I don't believe for a second Joe Biden was legitimately elected. No, I do not. They want us all to say it. Just say it. Just say you acknowledge. No, I will not. Because that would be saying, either one of two things have to be true for me to say that. One of two things would have to be true. One of those things would be, I would have to say, okay, if I believe those election results, then I also have to believe that there are millions upon millions upon millions of stupid people in this country. I refuse to believe that many stupid people exist. Or acknowledge the fact that computers oriented this election, not actual human beings. We all saw the video of people pulling suitcases full of votes from underneath curtained tables. We saw it. Even when I went to vote here in Texas, there were people standing there. This was back in 2020. There were people standing next to me, I guess a little bit, not too far from me, and they were saying that they were told that they had already voted and they had not voted. And I'm seeing this across the country from different states. This is a common happening. They're saying, I didn't vote. If I voted, who did I vote for? I saw that in the 2020 election here in Texas. We didn't complain too much because I think Trump took Texas. I saw that again in a report from California during the recall election. There were people, grown-ups, on camera saying that they were told they had already voted when they showed up to vote. Now, we can't ignore this. The stuff is too obvious. This is a national disgrace. We've got illegal immigrants coming over by the hundreds of thousands. By the end of the year, it will probably be more than 1 million in 1 year alone. Way more. The gotaways we will never know. But this is happening in a country with a constitution. We are a constitutional republic. We're supposed to have representation because we are taxed, Isn't that why we had a revolution to begin with from Great Britain at the time? Because we didn't want taxation without representation. Speaking of taxation, Joe Biden plans to double the size of the IRS, hiring 80,000 new auditors so that he could have, every time you spend over $600 from your bank, the IRS should be notified. That's what he's shooting for right now. That's the new law. That's what they want. This is what the Democrats voted for. The banks are not for it. They don't want to be watched any more than we do. But why do they need to know? I thought they were going to tax the top 1%, not everybody who spends $600 or more. That's what they want. It's intrusive. It's not American. It just goes to show you lie after lie from the Democratic Party. I want to bring people together. BS. I want to bring people together. I want to bring the IRS auditors together with every American citizen who spends over $600 of their hard-earned money. So they distract us by taking a picture of a cowboy. He wasn't even a real cowboy. He was actually a Border Patrol agent. A Border Patrol agent doing his job, using his reins to control and negotiate a very large animal called a horse, trying to control the fiasco at our border. So first we've got Joe Biden's fiasco in Afghanistan. And then they completely ignore the border. They completely ignore the droves and droves of people coming through the border. Remember Kamala going to El Paso, which is kind of like going to Del Taco for real Mexican food. You're not going to get the real story there. Kamala, you didn't fool anybody. Oh, by the way, did I tell you I've been watching The View? So you don't have to. I mean, it's a hard thing to watch. But I'm kind of glad I watched Friday's fiasco because Friday was unique. Because they were all week, last week, they were pumping up, having Kamala come on the show. Then the show comes on, and of course, Whoopi's missing. Whenever something important's going on, Whoopi's missing. And then they said, oh, well, wait, Joy Behar. Of course, you know, the brilliant mind of Joy Behar. She's going to be the main host. Oh, my gosh, you're going to dig deep now, aren't you, ABC News? Well, actually not. Well, anyways, Joe, same difference. Joe, bumbling idiot as she is, hag of the week, Joy Behar was saying, oh, yes, we're going to have Kamala on. Kamala's going to come on. And then, almost 50 minutes into the show where nothing happened, they kept saying, she's coming, Kamala's coming. And she never came until 51 minutes into the show. But before all that, at the beginning of the show, they're talking, making up, small talk, BS, same old. And then, the producer says, oh, Kamala is coming. And then they point to Sunny Hostin and what's the other one? Oh, Ana Navarro, who looks exactly like Neil Cavuto on Fox News, by the way. I mean, put their pictures side by side. They're like doppelgangers. Ana Navarro and Cavuto guy on Fox. So they asked them to leave. And then they found out later that they tested positive for the COVID. And I thought, how could that be? They were just talking about how they were both fully vaccinated. How could that be? Well, it turns out, we're finding out today, it was a false positive. But meanwhile, back at The View last Friday, they're waiting for Kamala. Minute 51, now they've got Kamala, but she's not on the stage because, they've got to, protect her from the COVID. So they give her a couple of minutes to answer some lame questions from lame Joy Behar. And Joy Behar goes on to say, oh, what do you think about the Haitians coming over the border? And she goes, oh, this is Kamala, of course, with that. She goes, oh, we're very concerned about Haiti. And we should support Haiti and Haitians. That's it? That's all you got? Oh, my gosh. Behar, Kamala, the combination's just mind-boggling. Okay, and then next question, it was, the Texas law, the heartbeat law. What do you think about that? Well, Kamala says, we must do what we can to protect women's reproductive rights. Oh my gosh, how lame is that? She didn't really say much of anything. She never does. I think we're all getting kind of tired of the non-substantial echoes of this Biden administration. They never say anything of importance when so many important things are happening. 13 men and women died in Afghanistan because of their debacle, because of their negligence, because of their lack of preparation and their lack of fortitude, leaving $85 billion worth of equipment and weapons for the Taliban. Wasn't it just a couple of weeks ago they were our enemy? Now we are talking with them in a business-like fashion, as Jen Psaki says. In a business? You don't do business with terrorists. Gosh, all I know is that these Democrats make me want to cuss. I mean, I don't want to do so right now because I just want to say, you dumb, you know what? But I just can't. I can't bring myself to do it because I've been trying really hard to curb my tongue. Good grief. Do any of y'all still have any friends that are Democrat? Because if you do, are they telling you what you think they'd be saying by now? You'd think they'd be saying, oh yeah, that Joe, he's doing such a great job, and we just love Kamala. I can't wait to get more of her t-shirts. Are they doing that? I'm not hearing that. I'm checking their Facebook pages, their Twitter accounts. I'm waiting for some of these commies to say, yeah, great job. Everything but. But they clung to that horse chasing the black man story. And he wasn't whipping the black man, as was reported by mainstream media. He wasn't at all. In fact, no one can honestly say that. But it was reported by CNN, MSNBC for sure. Shame on them. Do they ever go back and say, sorry, we were wrong? No. You know who else never goes back and says sorry they were wrong? Al Sharpton, who showed his butt at the border. Really, he had some nerve to show his butt. But you know what? He got heckled. I was so happy to see that. I know it's awful, but he got heckled. They said, we don't want your racism here. He is the worst of the worst in my book. A race hustler, bar none. He only shows up when race is involved. Race. They want to racialize everything. They racialized the potato head guy, the potato head, Mr. Potato Head toy. They racialized everything. They took Aunt Jemima off of the pancake thing. Aunt Jemima. I don't know. It wasn't bothering anybody. I wasn't bothered by it. In fact, occasionally I put on my bandana on my head in an Aunt Jemima style while I paint. Because I just like it. I love Lucy. I used to watch Lucy with her hair up in a bandana like that. But you know what? Now everything's racialized. If they want to make it an issue, they turn it into a race issue. Most people in this country do not wake up and go to sleep thinking about race. In fact, for most people, it's the last thing on their minds. Serious. And if you want to be sure, I mean, I wrote a paper a while back about how to spot a liberal in 5 minutes or less. Because I noticed that during that previous election, 2016, that whenever I said anything near patriotic in front of a liberal, and I didn't know it at the time who was a liberal and who wasn't, because we moved here I think in 2013, and so I wasn't sure about everybody. But the minute that I would say something the slightest bit patriotic, you do realize, of course, that black people like myself are not allowed to be patriotic. No. They've got to stop us in our tracks. Far be it from me to say anything to the affection of, I love my country. God bless the USA. God bless America. And if I say those things, if I express those feelings, guess what? The liberal would come out of the corner and say, oh, but don't forget about slavery. That's that tag word they like to throw in. Yeah, I know slavery existed. They do. I knew that. I went to school. Even in my public education, they taught us about slavery. You wouldn't know that nowadays to hear them talking about critical race theory everywhere you go. Critical race theory is just a way to keep race to be the main issue when it truly is not. It truly is not. That's why they let Black Lives Matter do all that damage, all that summer long, because they had to keep race front and center, because without race, the Democrat Party has nothing. They have nothing to offer. Critical race theory is the biggest con job, the biggest conspiracy theory going. It is a conspiracy theory. When they're pointing the finger at conservatives for coming up with conspiracy theories, meanwhile, they come up with real huge ones because it's a big lie. It bases everything on race. They want you to judge each other by race. They want you to think about each other only in terms of race, rather than made in the spark and divinity of God, in the image of God, the way he created us. They don't want us to think about that. They just want us to think about race all day long. Democrats. They have nothing to make this country a better place. That was another thing that Kamala had to throw in when she was being interviewed. Somehow, she turned that conversation about the guy on the horse into a subject matter of slavery, one having nothing to do with the other. But she said, those images bring back what? You're from Jamaica. I mean, your family's from Jamaica. What do you know? Oh, all she probably knows is Kunta Kinte and roots or something like that. I probably know more about it than she does because I was raised in the South. I discovered something this weekend that I was even shocked. Turns out, not only has Joe Biden never visited the border in all of his career, 40 years, 70 years? I forget, he's old. But in all his years, never visited the border. Not now, not ever. He has no clue what it's like down there. He has no clue. All he knows is Delaware and his little clique and his little family that got rich off of China. He probably knows more about China than he knows about our southern border, but he won't mention China. Did you notice that? Joe Biden came down hard on our Border Patrol agents, horseback Border Patrol agents. But did he come down hard on China in his address to the United Nations? Did he even come down hard on the Taliban, who killed 13 American soldiers? No. Boy, but he was a tough guy when it came to our Border Patrol. People will pay, he said. People will pay. For what? Using your reins on a horse? Guarding our border? He wasn't that tough on the Taliban. He wasn't that tough on, let's say, China. He talks about globalism and he talks about, saving the planet, gas emissions, making us drive, eternally electric cars, and everything he can do to limit our freedoms. But he doesn't talk about the catastrophe that China puts into the atmosphere and into the world every single day. China dumps crap loads of stuff into the ocean, into the atmosphere. If he was truly taking care of the planet, wouldn't he say something about the biggest polluter in the world? No. Why? Because Joe's really a wuss. I can remember as far back in 2016 or 15, was it, when he was saying that he'd like to take Trump in the back of a barn. Remember? Remember all his talk about Corn Pop? He was a mean dude. Corn Pop, if you're out there, please show your face. We need you. This country needs you, Corn Pop. You could have taken care of business a long time ago. Corn Pop, if you're a real dude at all. If you're out there, please make your presence known. Where are you when we need you, Corn Pop? It's come to my attention there's a different yardstick of justice for Democrats and Republicans. Democrats never bring up Eric Swalwell.
But I will always be real with you. I will be bold without the bold.
Yeah, that Eric Swalwell. United States Representative Eric Swalwell. He can sleep with a spy for years and years, and he's still on committees and everything. If he were a Republican, his head would have rolled, just the one. Yeah, is there a different justice system for liberals than there is for conservatives? I think there is. I think it's pretty clear that there is a different yardstick used. But I will never forget Eric Swalwell for this.
Chris, so far, the evidence is uncontradicted that the president used taxpayer dollars to ask the Ukrainians to help him cheat an election.
So Eric Swalwell knew at that time, while he was lying and passing gas at the same time, he knew that he was lying. He knew that that dossier was fake. So did Hillary. So did they all. So now Michael Sussman has been indicted. Hopefully the first of many. I doubt it, because the swamp is deep and those swamp creatures are dwelling still in Washington, D.C. So that's what we have to do. That is our assignment as United States citizens, to get rid of this swamp. We wanted to drain it, but you know what? They tried to keep Trump so busy, but they all knew it was a lie. That phony impeachment, 2 phony impeachments. That's why Nancy Pelosi had to rush that last impeachment through, based on yet another lie, that they're finding out that there was no insurrection at what they called an insurrection. There was none. They finally are releasing the footage of the people who went inside of the Capitol building that day on January 6th. That was no insurrection. If somebody was trying to take over a country, that's a pretty pathetic way to do it. Having the Capitol Police open the doors for you with your flags. There were some bad players in there, but it turns out there was a lot more FBI agents than anybody knew. So many that they accidentally almost arrested each other. That's how bad it was. That was a setup. So Eric Swalwell, swamp creature, well, all I can say is good riddance. I hope and pray that the common sense American citizen has the good sense to not give up on this country. Do not give up on this country because of the swamp creatures. Do not let the swamp creatures win. Because eventually the sun will shine. And if we don't drain the swamp, the sun will dry it out. Maybe that's why they're afraid of global warming. I guarantee you that, because prayers do get answered. That's right. God bless America. This is Kathy of kathysright.com. Stay focused, stay prayed up. I love you. I love America. God bless you. Bye.